Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Alex.
What's this?
Well, this is Brains on the Outside.
What is Brains on the Outside?
Well, it is our weekly podcast where every week we dream up ridiculous businesses to solve the world's biggest and most pressing issues.
That's right. I remember now. Each week we take one of our listeners' problems and we each pitch a company, product, or service to help them out.
This week, our listener Katie has contacted us about her frustrations with metal detecting.
Previous ideas have included a theme park where you get to dig up a huge hole and a cross between a microwavable dinner and a corny yogurt.
We're back from our 1 week holiday, Alex.
Yeah. I went to London.
London. That's exciting. You saw a really small train.
I did. I saw the mail train. Strong recommendation to go to the mail train. The Postal Museum in London is actually super interesting. It's probably the best museum that we went to, except for a slightly cheeky private tour that we got of a bit of the Natural History Museum, to be honest. But the Postal Museum, right up there.
Really, really small train. That's cute. In this week off, I've learned something very important and really going to change, I think, the stature of our show.
Is it how much you've missed me?
Well, that actually, yeah. Before we were recording, I did say how much I miss you quite a lot. But one of our ideas is real.
What?
It's become real. At the end of an episode, one day we talked about, as our one final thing, why isn't there multiple versions of movies that are shown in cinemas?
Yeah.
And then you'd have to go see them all for it to make sense.
Yeah.
Turns out the new Spider-Man movie actually did that.
What? It had multiple...
And I think our episode came up before the Spider-Man movie did. So I think we started that.
Is podcasting a form of copyright?
I think as long as you say it out loud into a mic, then yes.
Can we sue Spider-Man?
Fuck, Alex. This happened before, though. I think in like episode 1, we were like, public domain, open source... all the ideas for everybody.
Everything out there for free.
Fuck. But because of this, I think we should change the rule. I think from here on out, closed source, walled garden. If you want rights to use these ideas, you contact us first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. This is it. This is a line in the sand. Episode 77 of Brains on the Outside. This is it. Copyright from this point on belongs to us. Every idea, TM.
That means even this show, to help Katie. I'm sorry, Katie, you can't use them. We have to get a cut in. What does Katie need help with? What ideas will we be creating that are exclusively ours?
So Kat sent in an email that says, "Hi, Andrew and Alex. I have a metal detector and would love to use it to find old tent pegs and nails, but I'm not well enough to dig up the things that I may find. Can you help me?" From Kat.
Thanks, Kat, for getting in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much. Andrew, have you had time to think about this? Have you got some thoughts about metal detecting?
Yes, I've never metal detected before, but I do have. I have a bit of a thought. I have kind of a pitch. I want to need your help fleshing it out a bit. So my idea is shifting from metal detectors to metal detectives. Metal detectors are cool, but I imagine they're quite expensive, and that's still quite a lot of work from you. As Kat said, you still have to like bend down and find it yourself and get it out the ground. And it kind of lacks a bit of the human touch, the skill, the art, all the science in the field of metal detectors. And I think it's maybe brushed out the human bit, which is quite nice to have. So my proposal is a group of gumshoes, metal detectives, who will hunt down the metal you have lost, not through science, but through the art of being a very, very good detective. They will go and ask people around your neighborhood, where was the last time you dropped a metal coin or, your tent peg? When was the last time you saw it? And they will zero in on the exact foot square that they think this piece of metal's in. And they'll get a JCB and dig it up.
I like this because, as I understand it, there's a lot of metal detecting where you don't find anything, or you find things that you don't want, right? And this feels like that shortcuts that. You don't have to worry about not finding stuff, or you have to worry less about it because, you've done that detective work up front.
Exactly. And I think when you're doing, I imagine when you have a metal detector, you're getting a lot of stuff you don't want and you're not interested in, whereas this is more bespoke. You just go on our app and you're like, I'm at a beach, and I want to find someone's old iPod that they dropped in the sand 15 years ago. and away they go. They will hunt down who was in that beach 15 years ago, who had recently been to an Apple store near that time, and who just has really slimy jelly fingers who would drop an iPod in the sand. They'll find all those people. They'll find all those things. Then they'll go look at the pictures they were taking, the whole movies they made at the time, to find out exactly where on the beach that they were sitting. And then they'll go there and they'll just go hog wild. They'll just start scurrying in the sand until they find you that iPod you really desire.
Are you limiting it? So, I mean, it feels like these metal detectives could find almost anything, but are you limiting them to just finding metal things so that you keep in the same vein as the metal detector?
Oh, yes, purely metal. Like these guys can't handle plastics. You need something else for that. Like, they're purely high density metals.
Right, they've got to focus on something, I guess. It's like the way that, you get a detective that only does murders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You wouldn't ask, a dentist to do brain surgery on you. You need to have a specialty zeroed in a little bit.
Yeah, you got to have some focus there, haven't you?
Because if you're going to ask him for like the original red U2 iPod Classic,
yeah,
you don't want this person. You need this person to know a lot about metal to be able to really find that thing. And if they've been wasting their time learning about like acrylics and paper, like that's not going to help you in your search, is it?
Do you think in the way that, you know how you get TV detectives?
Yeah.
Who, they're police officers. They've been trained. They're maybe, they've done the thing. But then you also get the TV detectives who are not police officers. Like Quincy, he's a medical doctor.
Yeah.
Do you think that you get metal detectives who are also just from other walks of life, but are just really good at doing the metal detectiving?
Well, this is always the interesting bit of being a detective, because whereas like you could be a loose cannon as long as you get the job done.
Yeah.
And that's how I imagine a lot of these metal detectives to be, like real bad boys.
Yeah.
They were just a bit too wild to be plastic detectives. They're kind of the boring ones. Everyone's like, oh, like you wouldn't want to go to the pub with the plastic detective. But the metal detective is like, whoa, man, you've been in your office drinking a lot today. Like, are you sure you're okay to go fight this like really old samurai sword in a beach?
15 coffees before you leave the office. Like, walking around smoking cigarettes.
Somehow it's always raining and in black and white, no matter what beach they go to.
This is the noir detectives. Yeah, I like this as well because it also opens up the opportunity for private metal detectives too. Like there's I guess like metal detectives are doing it for the good of the country.
Oh, so you imagine
doing it for individuals.
You imagine these metal detectives to be like a part of the police force.
Yeah, they're part of the police, aren't they?
That's and then there is the private ones. When you want to find something, you want to detect some metal that's maybe a bit sketchy. That's a bit like, I don't know if you want to tell the police about this. That's what you'll call them, the private ones.
Yeah, it's when your mistress has lost your keys.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's
yeah. You need to do that.
The interesting thing about that is that's the sort of missing object thing that normal police just will not care about.
Yeah.
It's like, you've lost your keys, so what? Whereas a metal detective is going to go wild for that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's potentially multiple types of metal. Like if you have a key ring and other keys, what if you have a keychain? That's maybe 2-3 types of metal. They don't know where it is because you're potentially the only person to see that thing go missing. I don't know. They would love that job. Yeah. So that's my idea. My idea is a bunch of metal detectives who do bespoke searches for metal, not through using metal detectors, but through clues and context and a big corkboard in their office with strings and pictures and little push pins in it. We've got an ad today, Alex, from a new sponsor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's exciting. This is a really good one for me. It's been something I've been looking for a very long time. Personally, I don't really feel very down with the kids anymore. A lot of these words that I hear on TikTok, still a bit like, not just I don't know what they mean, but I don't know if people really say them, I've been hearing the word Riz a lot, like charisma. Do you have Riz? And then in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie I saw yesterday, one of the turtles said it. So I was like, okay, this is definitely a word that's in the lexicon. And I feel less weird about saying it now because I know that people say it. But there's that weird thing. Like, what if I say this word that I've been hearing and people don't really say it? Like, there's some like joke behind it that I'm not getting. So these people, the Rizbiz, will go out and find that out for you. I'm not sure if you're down with the kids, Alex, if there's any words that you've been hearing that you don't know if people actually say or not.
Well, yes, Andrew, of course. I mean, what I'm most interested in is whether Baby Gronk is the new drip king.
Yeah, so a sentence like that is if you're over the age of 18, that means nothing to you. It's like the opposite of that machine that makes a really high pitched noise. Like it's nothing. Like it just goes right through me. So what these people do is they will go and they'll start saying these words in public to see how the kids around them react. And if they laugh at them, they'll be like, oh, no, maybe kids don't actually say that. Dude, they'll be A/B testing phrases. They'll be going out and saying like, they make a joke and then their friend will go, Ibjol, which I've been told means I just burst out laughing.
I think it's each ball.
Each ball. See, exactly. This is exactly why we need the service, Alex, to go out there and test these words to see if the kids are actually saying them or not before we accidentally say them on the podcast and get berated by a child.
I feel like I have a slight benefit here because I obviously have kids and a teenager in my life. So they say things that I don't understand and I get to practice saying them with them.
Right.
And then they take the piss out of me for saying those things.
Do you like actually set aside time to be like, right, kids, am I saying this right? Or do you just try and subtly slip it in and gauge their reaction?
Oh, like in the same way that kids, children, babies, toddlers learn language, I just kind of slot it into the conversation and hope that it's correct.
So you're like, this spaghetti has a lot of Riz today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they're like,
exactly.
What are you, what?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Do you want to go to the beach? I hear there's a lot of drip there. That sort of thing. And then over a course of humiliating time, I eventually get to the actual meaning of the words. But by that time's moved on.
Culture's
and there's a different
changed.
set of words. Culture's changed.
Well, that's the even sadder thing is now we're just adults saying drip and Riz, even though like, because we probably know them, it's out of culture now. That is so last year.
It's gone. So this service is really going to help speed that process up.
Yeah.
So I can appear to be cool and young and hip when I am old.
When we're not.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our service. That is the Rizbiz. Alex, if one of our listeners had a business, an idea, thought they wanted to share in our ad section, how would they get in contact with us?
The best way to do that, Andrew, is through our email address, which is brainsontheoutside@gmail.com.
So, Alex, obviously, we're always locked in mortal combat for who can come up with the best business pitch per episode. I have my metal detectives. What's your thoughts? Where is your head? You've had a week of holiday to really just your brain to percolate innovative ideas. Where are you at? Where are you at?
Yeah. So the way that I've approached this, Andrew, is I've taken a good long look at metal detecting itself, and decided on what I think are the interesting bits of it and what I think are the problematic areas or the pain points. All right. I've taken a human-centered design approach to my problem for the first time in the history of forever.
Wow. This is very official.
Yeah. So I think, the bits that spark joy in me are the actual metal detecting, walking around, listening for the beep. That's what you want, isn't it? Beep, beep.
Yep.
Beep, beep. I understand it makes a kind of musical tone depending on what kind of metal it is and the densities and stuff. So, walking around with that stuff sounds perfect. Just gently walking up and down a field, swinging your metal detector backwards and forwards, listening there, just enjoying the countryside. Fabulous. When it beeps, my feelings would fall into two areas. One, apprehension, maybe I found something cool. And 2, boredom. I don't want to have to dig this shit up. It could be a long way down. You know, I don't know how a metal detector really works, but I imagine that you could end up digging like 13, 14 feet below the ground. Ugh, gross.
Yeah,
There's worms down there. Gross, horrible, hard work, difficult. And as Kat says, you know, you got anything that means that you can't bend down or you don't want to get down on your hands and knees, it's ruling it out for you, isn't it? So I approach this from a position of how do we make that bit better and more interesting and more fun? And the solution that I've come up with is a giant fucking magnet.
I love that.
So each time you go out metal detecting, you also take a huge electromagnet with you. And you walk around and you just boop, 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 like that. And you get that beautiful dulcet tone of I found something cool under the ground. You whip your giant electromagnet out, turn it on, and up it goes. Ting! Sticks to the magnet. Yeah, turn it off. There you go. No digging required.
That's excellent.
Hoiked it out. Exactly.
Ripped it from the cold, dead earth. I like that.
Exactly. Now, I started there, all right, but in the same vein as you once could buy instant mix cakes that you just had to add water to and then stir and then bake and you get a cake. And people felt that was unsatisfying because it didn't feel like you were really baking. So they made it so you had to add an egg to the process. I feel like if you just metal detect and then use a giant magnet to get the thing out, you are losing something of the experience in the process of just magnetizing it up to the ground. So what I'm suggesting instead, a slight adaptation to this, is that we don't have a magnet that's big enough to pull it all the way out of the ground. It just pulls the object so that it's approximately 1 to 3 centimeters below the surface.
Ah. And then you dig it up yourself.
Still a small amount of digging to be done. In fact, if you're feeling like it, you could just dust it off with your fingertips. You know, just dust it. Just dust it off with your fingertips. And there it is, your beautiful bottle cap that you've just found. You just hoiked it out the ground.
That's
absolutely
excellent.
Fabulous. Yeah.
I love that. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Could this all just be one piece of equipment? Like you have your metal detector. Imagine a metal detector. Imagine there's a big crank on the side of it that you could crank to turn the metal detector bit itself into an electromagnet.
Ooh.
So you could crank it and it would suck the thing out of the earth. And then maybe that circle, metal detecting circle bit, what if the edges were just like razor sharp? So it would also act as a shovel.
Oh.
And you have one very slick device that could do all of it. Or do you think there's value in having 3 separate things?
I think that there's definitely, you could have a Swiss Army metal detector that has all of the things in it, like a brush on one end and a spade built in and the magnet and the metal detector and a bottle opener and a thing for getting stones out of a horse's shoe. I
guess if you're out in the field and you see a horse, you won't be able to get the stone out of your shoe. And you're out there in the heat. It's been a long day. You've been working hard. You do want to crack open a cold one, you know?
Exactly, yeah. I feel like you can't have a Swiss Army related object without having these things. Also a tiny saw and maybe a ruler that's only like 2 or 3 centimeters long.
Yeah, this is expensive. You just start chucking in some like freebies.
A toothpick.
This is also, you've also created a good way of hiding things. Like you have an object where you can tell nothing's being hidden here. Then you can use the shovel bit to dig the earth up. And then I imagine if you crank one way to make the electromagnet suck things out, can you crank the other way to make the electromagnet plunge things into the earth? Do you want to hide your bottle cap collection deep into the core of the earth? You could bring this thing out, crank the other way, and plunge it 10,000 feet into the rock.
This did make me think of like something else, which is maybe what we should do is instead of everybody having their own electromagnet, we should just have one electromagnet. And then we should just slowly but surely just go over every bit of ground with the electromagnet, pulling all of the good stuff so that it's just 1 to 2 centimeters below the surface everywhere.
Having one big one is good as well because it adds like scarcity to the product. It's like you want it at your house, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. I learned that I learned that to get wind turbines out into the North Sea, there's now only one boat big enough to do that. So if you build an offshore wind farm, there's one dude who owns one boat to help you out. And he can charge any amount of fucking money he wants, because otherwise you're just not getting that wind turbine out. So you could be that, but the electromagnet guy.
Oh, I love that. You see those people that go like magnet fishing in rivers and stuff, and they just chuck a big magnet on a piece of string out into the river.
That's really cool,
and
actually.
Actually, you just pay. I pay £1,000 to get the big magnet to come and park over my garden, and just like, and every good thing in my garden just like flings up to the electromagnet.
I have two questions, and I guess these are two competing ways of running this service. In my head, there's two clear ways, and one, it's just a fucking enormous crane on the back of a truck comes, the arm swings over your garden with a huge magnet and sucks everything up. Yeah. But then the other way is, could you attach the electromagnet to a satellite that you could call from your phone and be like, just point the satellite over my house and just rip everything out? How do you imagine the delivery method of this?
Oof. I don't know enough about how directional electromagnets are, because I'm suddenly slightly worried that I'm gonna park this electromagnet outside my house and turn it on, and my TV's going to explode, and all of the metal things from the entirety of all my cutlery is going to shoot through the house at 1,000 miles an hour and stick to the big magnet outside. Do we have to combine this giant metal detecting electromagnet with also only using plastic forks and knives and cutlery in our houses from now on?
Well, yeah. I mean, you live your life every day and there's dangers, right? So you just kind of have to accept that a bit. But yeah, I think society will have to change if we're driving this truck around. It will make clearing a house out a lot quicker, though, because you could just push the magnet on top of somebody's house and you're like, I'll get all the shit in it, rip it all out, and then go.
I don't feel like we use enough electromagnets in life, just in general, Andrew. I feel like we could use them a lot more for moving stuff around. If I had a special pair of gloves that had electromagnets in them, so I could just move some stuff around inside my house by looking at it and pointing my hand at it and like Iron Man
force style. That'd be pretty cool.
I've forgotten to bring a spoon from the kitchen. Just point at the kitchen drawer and press the electromagnet button, and a spoon and a knife and a fork and 3 teaspoons and a fish knife. And
maybe you've cracked it.
Stick to my hand. Yeah.
Maybe you figured it out. You're out there on the field with your metal detector. You find some metal, and then you have your electromagnetic glove, and you just hold it over the area, and you can rip the metal object out of the earth with your electromagnetic glove.
Actually, that works perfectly, doesn't it? Because then you could also use the glove to just dig. You could use your hands to just dig a hole.
Yeah,
but it's like an e-bike, but for digging holes, for collecting metal stuff. It's just helping you out. You're having still to dig the hole.
Okay, I get it now. Yeah,
the electromagnet is making the thing that you're digging for closer to your hand.
For a second, I was like, you have a e-bike that's also a metal detector? But no, yeah, I see. It's just helping you out.
It's like, I mean, if you were a real proper metal detecting aficionado, right? A detectorist, having shoes and a bike that also had metal detectors on them, so you could metal detect 24/7.
What's that thing called where people leave little goodies in boxes for people to go find?
Oh, geocaching.
Geocaching. Why isn't there geocaching but for dumping metal deep under the ground? Like a metal detecting geocaching.
Well, there is. It's just that the people who are hiding the geocaches of metal were like the Romans and shit.
Oh,
and
shit.
People in the past.
They didn't know they were doing it. It's more natural. Can't monetize it, though.
No. True. It's true. Yeah. Although I guess we could hide something now. We could dig a hole and shove something in it and leave clues to it for like future generations of our families to come and dig that thing up in the hope that whatever it is that we buried might be valuable in the future. Like, I could go into the garden and dig a hole and bury a microwave in there
and just hope
that 200 years from now, microwaves are really highly in demand and antique.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting because you're now playing the game. What will be antiques in the future? I was going to say you just put layers and layers of water down there in case they live in a Mad Max hellscape.
And then, bleak. But yeah, I mean, that's 100% what's going to happen. But this has been quite fun to, what is, now people will buy an antique mangle or they'll buy like an old mixing machine or whatever because it's antique and it's cool and they put it in their house. But I can't imagine someone just having a microwave as a display piece.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, if I went outside and I dug up a CRT TV and a VHS player and the Temple of Doom VHS, I'd be pretty excited about that, actually.
It would be knackered though because you'd used an electromagnet to pull it out of the ground. So that was the episode, Andrew.
That was an episode.
It was an episode. Metal detectives and giant electromagnets for pulling stuff out of the ground.
2 good ways of revolutionizing metal detecting.
Yeah.
We have come to the segment of our show where we go over previous results.
Oh man, I hate this.
Let me get my spreadsheet up, Alex. I have a spreadsheet. Winnerlist.excel. Okay, so we have had one of our listeners get back in touch with us about their opinions on the episode we made them. So Elliot got back in touch, and Elliot's problem's all about 2-factor authentication.
Mm-hmm. Now,
just to sum up previous winners, I've won 4, you've won 1, and due to a loophole, our listener Hannah has won 1 as well. Elliot, I mean, I don't want to really put him on blast here, but he's also made this a bit more difficult. Like, he hasn't actually chosen a winner. He said he likes both ideas. So I think maybe it means we've both got a point.
Oh man, just make a decision for once in your life, Elliot. Just decide which way to go. Don't abstain.
But it's so I think it's now 5 to me, 2 to you, and 1 to Hannah. So at least we're both ahead of Hannah. So I'm excited for Kat to get in touch. So I think we need to add another rule though, which is you can't vote for yourself. Yeah. And also you have to only choose one person.
You can't. Don't be a baby.
Choose somebody who's not you. That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
If a listener has a problem they want to get in contact with us about, how should they do that, Alex?
The best way is via our email, Andrew, which is brainsontheoutside@gmail.com. Or if you see us in the street, just scream it from the other side of the road at the top of your voice.
That would definitely get our attention. It'd be a little scary, but that would definitely get our attention. We'd at least talk about it on the show.
Can you imagine walking down the street and someone just screams from the other side of the road, "How do you fix metal detecting?
These cash machines are too difficult to use."
Is there anything that people can do for us, Andrew, that listeners of this lovely show, our lovely listeners of this lovely show, can do for us?
The absolute best thing someone can do in this show is tell one of their friends about it. Shows like our little tiny little show here, the best way of getting you listeners is through word of mouth. So if you went to tell your best friend or your worst enemy or your boss or your previous boss about this show, that would be excellent. That'd be amazing.
We would love that. Go and tell your previous boss about the show. Please. Right now.
Get the email up. Log in to your old company's email address and just send it out.
Just do it. Everybody at wherever you used to work.com.
Alex, do you have a final business idea?
As a matter of fact, I do actually, Andrew. And it's very related to what I've just said. You know how businesses often have like all hands emails or like everybody at or all at that emails everybody in the entire company?
Yep.
What about if there was also nobody at, just so you could scream into the void of wherever you worked? Keep your brain on the outside.
Keep your brain on the outside.